one.
One way to find out.
Darlings, I've arrived.
That's what I'm talking about!
To the
Hello everyone, welcome to Meet the Buyers Scripted, presented by Screen New South Wales. I'm Lauren Edwards, one of the Screen Investment Managers at Screen New South Wales, and I would love to start the session by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we gather today, the Yugambeh language people, and I pay my respects to their elders past and present, and I extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders in the room with us today. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our moderator today, Head of Screen New South Wales, Kai Sepworth. Take it away, boss.
Thank you, Lauren. There's a couple of people coming in and they're about to shut the doors. I'll just let them come in. Hopefully you're here for Meet the Buyers Scripted, because that's what you've got. And now I'm going to introduce the wonderful speakers who will be talking to you all. We have Julie Eckersley, SBS, Head of Scripted. Todd Abbott, ABC, Head of Comedy. Sarah Christie, Prime Video Australia, Senior Scripted Development Executive. We have Julie McGarvin, Seven Network, Head of Drama. We have Marshall Heald, Foxtel Group, Executive Director, Foxtel Entertainment. And we have Alex Baldwin, ABC, Acting Head of Drama, Entertainment and Indigenous. If you could give them all a warm welcome. This is a hot ticket. Look at everybody here. Fantastic. You may have gone to a couple of sessions before. If you go into the Screen Forever app, there's an opportunity to ask your questions. I know you've got wonderful questions. I have two caveats. If it's a statement, I probably won't read it out. If it's a question, if you can keep it short because of how it works, if it's too long, then I won't be able to read it all out. And look forward to, at the last 15, 20 minutes, we'll get into those questions that you have. So I'll open up with something that you'll all want to know is I'm going to ask each of the panellists to just warm us up with how would you describe your audience and what kind of projects are you looking to commission for them?
Hi, it's lovely to be here with you all. We're a public broadcaster at SBS, so I think by our nature our audience is all of Australia. In terms of what shows, we don't, the caveat would say that we don't deliberately do kids at SBS. But in terms of what we're looking for, I mean, I think it is such a great time to be SBS. As I keep saying to the network, we're finally trendy, guys. You know, the content that SBS has been making for years in terms of diversity and points of view, there's not only a growing desire for it in our own country, as there should be, but internationally. So we're making 4x1s that we've done for ages, 6x1s, and also 8x30. We're really excited by the half-hour drama space, and as we all do, kind of pivot more onto on-demand. We feel that the half-hour dramas are really bingeable, which is really exciting. In terms of genre, like I always say at SBS Scripted, we've got two key goals, and one is to make extraordinary drama that plays Australia first and then internationally, and the second goal is to rise up a tidal wave of new and diverse talent, and we are equally committed to both of those things and look for them in every show that we do. In terms of genre, we think genre is really exciting. Genre blending travels really well. We bring international money into all of our shows now, and we're getting great distribution advances. So in doing that, we've been doing magic realism, family dramas with a twist. We've got a thriller coming out next week in Safe Home. We've got While the Men Are Away, which is a queer revisionist history of Australia, looking at what the women were doing while the men were at war. That's in post at the moment. We're currently shooting erotic stories, bringing the sexy back to SBS. And then we've got a show after that from a fantastic young African creative called Tig Terrera. It's his first show, and he calls that Afro-punk. So, you know, bold, great stories. HBO is our pin-up girl. If it's something exciting and strong and authored, we're likely to love it at SBS.
Amazing. Oh, thank you, though.
Oh, no, I was going to share.
Oh, no, thank you. That's lovely. That's lovely. Excuse me. I'm fascinated by your erotic stories, Jules. That's that.
Everyone is.
Yeah. No, totally. Look, much like Julie, where the ABC is obviously a public broadcaster, and so we also like to think of our audience as being Australia. And not only is that part of our charter and our responsibility, but it also allows us really to have a lot of fun in looking at a whole lot of genres. So even within comedy, it allows us to do in our 2023 slate things as diverse as a reimagining of Mother and Son. At one end of the scale, iconic classic Australian show, and a soon-to-be iconic classic Australian show at the other end of the spectrum, which is Auntie Donna's Coffee Cafe. And the rest of the slate, I think, is kind of something for everyone in between there. So this year, for us, obviously, we have Utopia coming up. We have In Limbo, which is more a dramedy, which is coming soon. And speaking of revisionist histories, we're doing a feminist revisionist history of the gold rush, which is essentially Broad City meets Deadwood, called Gold Diggers, which is an enormous amount of fun, and we're partnered with CBS Studios on that. So that gives you a bit of an indication, I guess, of the range of things that we're looking for in comedy, and we feel across that slate that we're trying to provide exciting content for as many different parts of the wide Australian audience as we can, and certainly that's what we're looking for. I will just say that the thing that we are looking for actively at the moment is really laugh out loud comedies. We probably are sort of quite well served for the dramedy space for now. So come at us with proper laugh out loud gag fests.
Hi everyone, I'm Sarah. I'm super excited about the slates that both ABC and SBS have been working very hard on, and can't wait to see these shows coming out in the next couple of years. I work at Prime Video, and I think likewise at Prime Video Australia, we're looking to cater for all Australians, but we're also a global service that's available in more than 240 countries and territories worldwide, with more than 200 million Prime members. So it's really exciting for our Australian original programming to have that kind of reach, not just in Australia, but globally. And I think when we're looking at our local slate, we're always relentlessly focused on the customer, and we know that Australian audiences aren't a monolith. So we're always looking at our slate holistically, trying to create something for everyone across unscripted, scripted, and film. I've been working very closely in the scripted space for the last couple of years, and we've got a very exciting slate for 2023 coming up. We've got 9 Australian shows launching this year. Class of 07 and The Test have already sort of left the ranks, along with some of our comedy specials, and we've got other great scripted programs coming up like Deadlock, which the trailer launched today. Check it out if you haven't already. It's a great genre blend. It's comedy, mystery, created by Kate McClellan, Kate McCartney, and Lost Flowers of Alice Hart coming up later in the year, which is a really premium emotional drama. So we're working really across the spectrum of genres as well, and I think we'd say we're genre agnostic, like my counterparts here. We're really just looking for the best stories, and we think those stories can really come from anywhere. I think specifics right now that we're looking at in particular are we're trying to find something in the high-end thriller space, but likewise we'd be really open to inventive comedies like Class of '07 did so brilliantly for us in March, and shows like Jury Duty, which have been taking off on Prime worldwide, we think are really, really interesting, and we'd love to find something that's sort of standing out and distinctive within various genres.
Hello, I am Julie from Channel 7. Channel 7, as you know, I'm the only free-to-air, I think, here today. It's very broad, and again, very importantly, Australian. For our dramas, we look for 25 to 54 demographic, but very much female-led, 40 plus. If you look at all of our ratings and demos, it very much is female-led. So that, for us, really talks about resonating with that audience, emotionally driven, something like RFDS. It's big, it's broad, it showcases Australia beautifully. It is stories told that really resonate, and they're thought-provoking. The next series, I'm very happy to say, The Dailies is my joy watching them every day. I think I've cried about 5 times in about the last 2 weeks, and I cannot wait for everyone to see it. So when you think of 7, anyone can come to 7. I would love to hear from anyone who likes to come to us. Genres, crime always works. Maybe short-run true crimes work for 7. Short runs probably 6 to 8 hours, probably not looking for anything longer than that. But really, anyone can come to us, as I mentioned, and in any form, whether it's scripts or pitch documents, the door is open.
Hi everyone, I'm Marshall from Foxtel. Look, Foxtel's been through an enormous transformation over the last 5 years, and the business has evolved into a multi-brand offering. So of course we have Foxtel, a premium product that really tries to bring the enormous depth and breadth of content to our customers. So I think we have probably in the entertainment space probably more than 40,000 hours of acquired content in every kind of genre. Of course, underpinned by a very significant sports offering. So the biggest sports codes: AFL, NRL, Formula 1, cricket, basketball. So, and of course, we try and bring together the world's best entertainment. So, in the scripted place, it obviously includes the Warner Brothers and HBO output. It includes NBC, which includes Peacock and Sky. We have a big deal with BBC. And so what that means from a scripted perspective is we're looking for the very best Australian shows from the very best creators, shows that can sit alongside that incredible content we're curating from right around the world. Of course, we've now got binge as a very, very important part of the business. It actually has probably a fairly similar number of subs to Foxtel. And so the big focus for us is continuing to grow binge, bring more subs in. So of course, we're looking for noisy, must-watch drama series that motivates people to get their wallets out and sign up. Had a great year of success in the local drama output, of which I can take 0 credit, because I've only been with the business for just over a year. But in the last 12 months, Foxtel's had its 3 most successful scripted shows ever: Love Me, The 12, and Colin from Accounts. And so the job, quite simply, is to try and bottle that magic and do it again. No easy task. You never want to be prescriptive in the scripted area, but there are zones that we know work for our audiences. Crime, we have an amazing crime offering. Audiences love our crime shows. But, you know, how do you stand out in the pack and come up with really elevated crime shows that can punch through and be really distinctive? Love Me, a relationship drama, very successful because it's multi-generational, so you can sell it in different ways to different audiences across the products. And of course, Colin from Accounts, an absolute phenomenon. You can see Ali back there, great show. So of course, we're making some more of some of those, hopefully.
Hi, I'm Alex. I'm not Sally Riling. So first of all, I'd like to apologise that for all those people that came here today to hear Sally say something controversial, announce a show that she shouldn't announce, or drop a few truth bombs. I apologise for that, but I'll do my best. We've got a long, rich history of telling Australian stories at the ABC. Our Sunday night drama slot is traditionally very loyal, but we have seen that free-to-air audience move more towards that digital space. So everything we're looking at the moment, we're trying to see how that can work on iView, because we are moving to digital. And I think, you know, similarly to what Julie and Todd have said, it's like we're a public broadcaster, so we want to tell great Australian stories, but we need to make stories that are impactful, stories that can cut through and keep that audience and keep them on audience and find other shows on iView. Most recently, you know, we've had great success with Mystery Road Origin. I think that was a bold move, refreshing that franchise, which was really, really successful. And it was our #1 drama on iView last year, and it also is the most watched drama of all time on iView. So, you know, taking those risks are really important, but they're calculated risks. And other shows that have been successful as The Newsreader, and I think what's so great about The Newsreader is that it's entertaining, it was aspirational, and I think that's kind of the shows that are working for us at the moment. Anything that's a little bit too dark, too serious, is, you know, people are switching off. We're overserviced with crime, so again, like Marshall said, it's like if you're going to pitch to something, it's got to be very unique, it's got to have a point of difference. But we're open to look at everything. We want to make the best shows. We want to work with the best people. So if you've got anything, come and see us.
So I've got a whole list of questions, and each speaker kind of answered them in different ways. And so now I have the joy of reshaping some of these questions. So I'm going to skip down, and although Julie did answer, I'm going to let the others have a go. What sort of format? So you've got the audience here. What sort of formats are you looking for right now so they can understand and to know whether do you do features? Is it just if we could go there? And Julie, that doesn't mean you can't go again. Please.
I'll go. We'll go this way. I think for us, it's like, you know, what's really important is the diversity of programming in our slate. And I think in the scripted space, it's like we've got some really core, really popular, broad, returning series now. So we're open to looking for limited series that can kind of have impact. 6 to 8 eps is kind of the sweet spot for us. So I think when you're pitching and thinking about ideas for us, it's like, does it have longevity? Is it something that can go to 3 series? Is it limited? Will it have cut through if it is limited? So I think, you know, they're kind of key things for us when we're looking at that. And obviously, you know, the order can vary a little bit. We did In Our Blood this year, which is a 4-parter, but that was a really important show. It was telling, you know, an amazing Australian story in a very unique way. So we'll look at those as well. So we think, you know, we're open to that, but long running, anything over 8, it's really difficult for us.
I just say to that, I think in the international market too, anything over 8 is now considered long, which is such a change from a few years back.
Oh, are we going in reverse this time? We're working this way? So we're actually very, very flexible. We will do both returnables and limited series. The 12 was a 10-parter. We will do 8s, we'll do 6s, we'll do 4s. We might do features. It's really about, you know, what is a great kind of cut-through idea. We're definitely highly selective. You know, it's about quality, not quantity for us understanding the richness of the acquired content we have coming through. So it's really about just those big cut-through kind of concepts and whatever the right duration is to deliver that story. Of course, Wentworth went for 9 seasons. And so, any kind of successful media business has returnable franchises that will deliver a consistent audience. But, sometimes a limited series can really, really punch through and deliver you an enormous reputation and audience as well.
Hello. I think I did mention before, we're probably looking for 6 or 8 parts. We're probably all talking the same thing. It's interesting as a viewer yourself, when you look at something, how many hours it is, whether or not you'll commit to it. Having said that, I've watched so many of your shows for hours and hours. We will also do 2x90, so event television. So they're really great to sort of spike our big nights when we're actually, got other new shows coming. So we have like big event nights, and that's always something that we look for to make big weeks as well. So really probably about 6 to 8 is ours as well. Having said that, if they're great and they're returnable, we will do it like we are with RFDS.
Julie, can I ask you, is the era of all those sort of great longer order Channel 7 dramas like All Saints and Rafters and those sorts of things, is that era done?
Wouldn't we all love to have another All Saints or a Pack to the Rafters? Because amazingly, they're the most watched shows. Actually, number 1 show is All Saints, Blue Heelers, Rafters, I can't remember, on 7+. It's amazing. Look, I think we would all love to be able to do that. To be honest though, when we're talking about it, will an audience commit to the same hour of television every single week? I wish they would, but again, unfortunately, it's a really big financial commitment as well. But if we could bring back All Saints, I know a lot of people who'd be very happy. But I'm not quite sure what to do with Georgie because she's in Home and Away now, but that's okay.
I think so for Prime Video, we are commissioning across scripted, unscripted and film. And when it comes to formats, we really are always led by the story. So, we come onto projects at all different stages, and I think we're led by how much story is there in this character, in this series, what is going to keep an audience hooked episode to episode. And we know there's just so much content out there right now, so finding those propulsive hooks and characters that are endlessly fascinating is really what we're focused on when we're looking at format and how far the story will go. And I think, you can see that across the scripted shows we've got coming out this year. Class of 07 was 7 by half hour. Deadlock is also a comedy, but it's a genre mash. It's a crime comedy, and that's 8 by 1 hour. And Lost Flowers of Alice Hart is 7 by 1 hour. We have a film, 5 Blind Dates, which is in post-production right now, and we're also working the documentary space. We've got a 1 hour documentary, The Defenders, which is about a Bahrainian footballer turned political refugee, the Wiggles doc. So we're really working across a variety of formats and really are always led by story first.
Just speaking of formats, quite a side note, but I was on a panel this morning in the next room, and it was a landscape layout of the room, and this portrait layout means that not only does it feel like a firing squad sitting here looking at all of you, but also we have this massive countdown clock in front of us. Anyway, that's beside the point. If we seem a little nervous, I think we all feel like it's...
And very bright lights.
Yeah, it's quite the vibe. Look, format-wise, similarly, we are looking at 6 to 8 episodes. In comedy, it's half hours. We are certainly at a point where we are looking very much to the future and to making ABC iView a destination streaming service, not a catch-up service. And so, increasingly we will be at a point where we hope soon to be able to commission more that, has that audience directly in mind. But at the moment, we're obviously serving both, the audience who watches content online and still a traditional broadcast audience. So for us, that's half-hour narrative comedies on a Wednesday night. But I think that once we do start doing a bit more stuff digital first, I think that will become a bit more flexible. You look at things like Ryan O'Connell's series Special on Netflix, and by all sort of traditional measures, it's a half-hour comedy, but most of those episodes are about sort of 17 or 18 minutes, I think. So yeah, at some point in the not too distant future, we'll be a lot less hung up about durations. But certainly, for us at the moment, 6 to 8 half hour.
I think that's a really important thing that we're all starting to think about, particularly those who've been broadcast first and are now, looking at that kind of slow transition and, our on-demand platforms or, ABC, iView, it sounds like we're at the same place, becoming the destination, because it does free up, where you're sort of locked into who might be watching at a 7:30 or an 8:30 time slot in terms of age and appeal, and also you're locked into that kind of advertising block of minutes. There's a lot more flexibility that I think is really exciting, that given the fact that even if you pitched a show to us today, it'll be on air in 2 years, we're probably at the point where we can all start thinking forward to that point.
And I think also even just genre-wise, like you look at things like, Beef or The Bear, or Hacks even, and because they're all half-hour shows, they get sort of classified as being comedies, but they're actually, it's hard to say. Certainly there's a lot of laughs in them, but also a lot of drama,
Absolutely. I think the half-hour drama is some of the most exciting content in the world, and going back a while, even Atlanta and I May Destroy You. So, it allows a flexibility. I think they're a lean storytelling format where you don't sort of need a dead body or something to drive through the full hour. You can really go into character juice.
Okay, I'm going to throw straight to Sarah because she's looking like she wants to talk to everybody. How do you know when a show will work?
It's a very good question. I think really that is what is so exciting about working in entertainment, is we're always taking these sort of big leaps of faith together, always coming together with producers, writers, directors, and saying we believe in this story and we believe that it's going to reach an audience. So you've got to have that passion behind a project. When we are looking at new material, there's always sort of a couple of questions that are top of mind for us, where we're really looking at the concept, the uniqueness of that concept. Is it something we've seen before? Is it fresh? Is it distinctive? Is it going to cut through, as Marshall was saying before? There's just so much content out there, so we're looking for that really noisy, buzzy material. I think timeliness is also a big thing we talk about again and again, is the why now, which I'm sure a lot of people in this room have heard many times before. But we really want to be investing in content that we think is going to resonate with customers today. And for us, that is looking at the themes we're speaking about, looking at the conversation that might start after someone's finished watching a show. And hopefully, we're creating content that is hitting the cultural zeitgeist in any given moment. And I think talent is another big thing for us. We're asking, who is it behind this story? Authentic voices are incredibly important. Audiences can feel that, and we want to feel that too in the stories that we're being told. And we want to be working with the best creators. But I think, for us, at Amazon Prime, we do want to be a home for talent, and that's across the board, like emerging and experienced talent. And we try to create a very inclusive, collaborative environment in the way that we develop stories. And we really want to resource the creators that we're working with so that they're best content and their best work can be delivered on screen.
Julie Exley, what do you look for to find the show?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think passion is, is something that you do really want to see in the people bringing you the story. It's a great word. Look, this is something from Chris Oliver Taylor, actually, from when we were at Matchbox. He always gave us the three kind of things of a great story, the team that can deliver, and that it belongs as part of the network that you're going towards. So I think they're really important things. There's a sort of theme here of the best creatives, and I would say, and I'm sure this is a comment as well, we want to discover the best creatives. I'm really excited about stepping people up. We're doing it all the time. It's calculated risk. We're spending government money, so we need to be really vigilant with that. But, looking at Anna Barnes, who next week Safe Home comes out, that's her first show. She show ran that like a champion. It's so exciting. Kim Wilson, who's been a long-held, incredible creative in our country, show ran her first show in While the Men Are Away. We're stepping up new directors on erotic stories. Tig's first show. So why we back those people is because they have a clear, passionate vision, and that makes a massive difference.
Alex?
Look, I agree with all of that, I think, and it's interesting what Julie was just saying then, because I think we also want to work with the best creatives, but also too, we're very keen to work with emerging people, and we've had great success with that. And I mean, what you were just talking about, Julie, I was just thinking, going through it, it's like, with Mystery Road Origin, we gave Dylan his first opportunity to do television, 6 by 1 hour. It was an amazing outcome, and he worked so diligently and so hard on that. And then I go back further and I think about Cody Bedford, who got her first 1 hour script on Mystery Road, the earlier series, and is now in such high demand. So I think it's really important that we know who that team is, and that there is an openness to kind of break open that room as well a little bit. And just about when you are pitching something, I think it's just clearly knowing what the story is or what the idea is. I think a lot of times you kind of zone out straight away because it's an idea inside an idea inside an idea. So it's got to have a clear. You've got to have a clear idea what it is, and you've got to be able to sell it to us in the first 5 minutes.
And interestingly, I don't know what you guys think of this, but I think a clear visual world as well as a clear story world are becoming more important. Like, you could call it, the Handmaid's Tale effect. You think of that show, you not only think of the story, you think of that red bonnet. And I do think that, like, owning a visual space is important to really creating a distinct content. What do you guys think about that?
No, it really actually makes sense. When I think of RFDS, and I'll keep on talking about it because I've literally just watched it, it's big red earth, it's Australian, so it's very easy to sell. And very much, as you were saying, I actually had a couple of meetings today, and when I was talking to some lovely producers, and said what you learn over the years is, and as a producer many years ago, it's making sure that you stay true to what you want to make. And so my job at Seven is to help you to make your vision and your idea, as opposed to changing it. And if that's one thing I would say to producers and creators, is be true. Of course, it's a collaboration, but be true. We'll work together really well, but that's our job, to bring it to life, not to change it.
Well, I would agree with all of my learner colleagues. I just say, look, it's a great time to be a content consumer. You've got so many amazing shows being made. We're living in this sort of attention deficit kind of era. And so that means when, you want to come up with a show that's going to work, then I think, first of all, it has to be really clearly promotable. You need to know what it's going to look like on the poster, because you've got such a small sliver of time to communicate to audiences what your show is, to get them in to look at it. And also, being slightly prosaic, I think, in the world we live in these days, you've just got to have marquee stars. You have to have A-list stars to try and get people to look at your show. If you've got a great show without stars, I think that's tough at the moment. And I think for us, the other thing is you just need to develop the show until it's ready. And so, we're not, our local shows do not underpin our schedule. They are punctuation points. Of course, we'll try and run them in shoulder programming of big international kind of shows, but we have the luxury of taking the time to work with the creatives to get it right, however long that takes. And so I think it's, any great show is probably going to take at least 2 years from idea to reaching screen, but could well take longer.
I think that that's something that it feels like we've finally really learnt as Australia, that you cannot shortcut the development process. And I know we're doing it at SBS, it sounds like you guys are all doing it as well, like really going, okay, we have just got to put proper money and time on the table to develop content. You can't shortcut that process.
Just on that point, I would pick up both on that point about it being a 2-year process minimum, Jules, and also what Julie was saying about working collaboratively. Just something that the legendary Sally Riley said on a panel a couple of years ago, which is that process does take a minimum of 2 years from when we commission something to when it's going to be on air. And it's really important that we like each other, it's really important to get on with people. So I don't know, I guess the take-out message of that is don't be an asshole. But
Be nice.
Be nice.
Another way to say.
Yeah, no, but it is. It's a collaborative process, and we become a team, and that's utterly impossible to underestimate how important that is. To be collaborative on both sides. I felt like that was a bigger point, and then I oversold. I oversold it. I'm sorry. Sally did it better.
I think also that with us as commissioners, we're we're sort of saying the same thing here, but that we're really supporting creative and but we are partners, and developing that trust and that dialogue, through the development process means that when things get tough in production, as they do, because it's a really tough thing to do, we've got a trust there and a language, and we've spent so much time working together and really sharing a vision for the show that the push and pull is gone. Like, we're fighting the same battle, and we've got your back, and you're delivering the show that we understood we're all making together, and that's the relationship, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Going off what Alex and Todd have said, how do you like producers to approach you and deal with you? Of course, don't be an arsehole.
How do we like them to approach us in terms of bringing something to us in the first place, you mean, or?
So we're all here now.
Yeah.
Is it nice when they follow you into the bathroom? Is it nice
always
when you're
love
trying
that.
to get a...
That's always a winner. That's a great way of doing it. So basically follow that. Look, we're always kind of open to having chats, casual chats about ideas. But we have a system at the ABC, which is that we have an independent production portal on our website, and it sounds very sort of, computer says no sort of public service, but it's actually a really great, efficient way of making sure that your submission is received and logged and looked at by a large number of our team, and we have regular submissions meetings then to talk things through. It means things don't get lost under the carpet or notoriously in my inbox. It's a very largely foolproof way of making sure that we do see your things. But of course, particularly if we have a relationship with you that exists, people will always phone and just have a chat and run the idea of something past us, and we're happy to do that.
I'm just going to be cheeky and just say, unlike the large number of your team, we have a very, very tiny team. And so, as much as we'd like to meet with everyone all the time, I think we really do want to, get things on paper sent to us. We'd love to read story outlines. We want to read about character. So I think that's the sort of minimum threshold to really have a conversation with us. Yep.
Go on, Julie.
I love a chat with anybody. Even when everyone thinks I'm woo, pick up the phone. It's always great to chat to people and to hear their ideas. Of course, ideally, the script is best because it really tells you the tone of the piece versus a Bible, but not everyone can afford that. That costs a lot of money to get a script unless you're a writer. But really, when you, as you mentioned, you've got to know what your idea is and how you want to sell it before you come in. But just ring me, love a chat.
And I'll just add, it's like I think obviously we do have that process, the portal, but we obviously are all talking to people in the industry all the time, and so we do have those conversations, and we do set up pitch meetings where, you know, one or two of the team members will take those meetings, and I think they're really important when you're ready to pitch them in. And I think just with what you are pitching us, it's like, don't overdevelop something, I would think. It's like, you know, we don't want to be looking at something that's got, you know, 4 scripts when we really like the idea, but the direction you've gone isn't going to work for us. So we're open to looking at kind of, you know, 2 pages, we're series Bibles. If you've got a pilot script, that's always good. So I think there's no sort of limitations around what you can submit to us, and we're open to kind of having conversations with you at any time.
Also, just on that, if you have, you know, for instance, been working on a draft of a pilot script for something for 5 or 10 years or something, just probably before you submit it, if it does say draft 19 or something like that on the front, I'd advise taking that off. We do get that.
Draft 1.
Yeah, exactly.
I would just add to that, for anyone who's newer to the industry, we've really tried to make some avenues for newer creatives. And 2 of the things that we've done at SBS is we've put a free pitch deck guide up on our website. So you probably all have it, but if you haven't, just download that, because that pitch deck can be a really great way of succinctly communicating your idea. It's also really carefully thought out, so it actually touches on all the story points that we want you to have thought through before you're talking to us. Because even if you're sending us a smaller doc, we want to know you've done the work behind the scenes. And the second thing we've done is the second Friday of every month, the whole SBS scripted team is on a Zoom call. It's a free Zoom call. It's called the TV Lunch. You can sign up and you can come and talk to us directly. And we're there. We talk for 20 minutes about something that's hopefully offering value, like how to apply for the digital originals, or, you know, how to put a pitch deck together. Or this one coming up, we're talking to Anna Barnes, the creator of Safe Home. We're talking to her about the process. So we do that for about 20 minutes or so. And then it's just an Ask Us Anything. So you can just come and ask, and so sign up to that, particularly if you're newer in the industry.
Since it's an Ask Us Anything, sorry, Sarah, I wanted to ask, what don't you want to hear?
So the things that we're not looking for at SBS are kids, YA, feature films, except a feature film initiative that we're doing with Film Vic. That's the only way we're doing that. We're not doing comedy, so I'm leaving that to Todd.
Thanks.
No,
appreciate that. Thank you.
This is a little bit cheeky, but I say we're personally not doing a genre that I like to call Dead Girl in a Small Country Town. Other people can do it. We're just avoiding that one for now.
Sarah's doing that.
I love those shows. I'll go with the first question first in terms of how we like producers and writers coming to us. So we don't have a portal, but we're constantly meeting with producers, writers, agents. We've got a great content team. Lucinda Reynolds just joined the scripted team. We've got Ali Gilbert and Tyler Byrne. We're always, you know, our door is always open to hear new ideas. Of course, there are, you know, producers we've been working with and we've worked with before. But our door is always open for the right idea. And I think, you know, it really does come back to a lot of the things that we've been speaking about a lot today around we want to hear about your vision for a show and that clarity of vision. And I think theme is really important for us as well. Like, what do you want to say and how are you going to say it? Even if you don't have a script, it's really great for us to hear about your plans, like the next stage, what you're hoping to achieve when you're coming to us. We do develop from the ground up. So, you know, we've started on some projects from just a pitch, a 2-pager, 4-pager, and we'll work alongside the creators to really embed and figure out what that vision for that show, those touchstones that you keep coming back to again and again. I think we like to find kind of the North Star for a lot of our projects early on, being like, if it doesn't make us laugh, we're not doing our job properly, things like that. In the scripted space in particular, and feature films, a script is really handy if we haven't worked with you before, just as Todd was saying, to get to know your voice on the page, understand where that, laugh is going to land, or, that edge of your moment thriller scene is going to hit. And then in terms of what we're not looking for, likewise, we're not currently working in the kids space, but we do family content. I think, shows like Kick Like Taylor for us have a really broad reach, and we're always looking for shows, films, unscripted that are going to reach that really broad audience. And another show that did really well for us last year, actually, on the international slate was The Summer I Turned Pretty, based on Jenny Han's novel. And likewise, that while it's a YA story, we found reached a really, really broad audience because it also had the storylines with the parents, and it was really aspirational themes, and it really took off in Australia, but also worldwide, of course.
Can I just, sorry, I was just going to add on that. Although we don't necessarily require, and Alex was saying we don't necessarily require a script, I controversially will say that I really think for us to look at comedies and assess them, we really do need a script. I think comedy is the hardest thing to get right. And we have a lot of really great drama writers in Australia. There are very few people who earn a living from being full-time narrative comedy writers because we as a country don't make enough for anybody to do that. So we really need to get a sense, if you're going to pitch a comedy, that you have the right people to write it, and the capacity to, no matter how strong the idea is, it would be the thing I would add.
I think that's a really important thing for newer writers too. Like I think, I say to writers, if you're a writer, get on the tools. You've got to be on the tools all the time and writing. So if you've got an idea, there really is no reason why you wouldn't just write that script. Like, you should write it for your own craft and your own practice. And again, just to reference Anna Barnes, who'd done a small amount of TV and some really successful theatre, if we'd just seen the pitch for Safe Home, we wouldn't have backed that show. But because she delivered on the script in such a beautiful way, it not only gave us confidence to back her to showrun that show, but it really sold the show. So if you've got that ability, get on the tools and write it down.
I'll just really quickly add, Todd and I aren't obviously looking for children's content, but Libby Doherty is. So if you've got anything out there, you should go to her. I think just really quickly to touch on what we're not looking for. I think young adult, we get pitched a lot of that at the moment. Anything set in a high school is not going to really work for us. It's being done well somewhere else. I think genre like the fantasy, sci-fi, that's just not right for us. And feature films is like, unfortunately, we don't have like a strategy around that at the moment. Our money is being put into kind of that sort of longer form. But obviously, every now and then an opportunity comes up. Like, we did a wonderful film last year called Here Out West, which was a great initiative with Screen New South Wales and Screen Australia. So if you're wondering why I said we don't do feature films and then you saw that on the ABC, it was just because it was a unique opportunity. So we'll look at those things, but we're not looking for features.
And we also don't really have a capacity at this stage for web series. Although we have just announced the third iteration of our very exciting Fresh Blood initiative, which has in the past unearthed things like Koala Man and Auntie Donna, some other really great and impressive talent has come through that program. And the first stage of that is actually creating some digital shorts with a view to finding things that can be developed across a period of time into a series. That is a really great opportunity for emerging comedy creators to really get their hands dirty.
Did everybody get to say what they don't want? Marshall, did you?
Well, we don't want YA or kids either, unfortunately. I think probably the other things we don't want have probably been fairly well articulated by everyone on the panel. I think, we are looking for really ambitious ideas. We have a really strong international network of partners. Love Me, we work with Hulu, Confirm Accounts with CBS, Upright, we worked with Sky. So we are really trying to, upsize our projects by working with international partners. So, we want local shows that work internationally. I think that's really important. Yeah.
Okay, we have 23 minutes on the timer left. I have a few questions, not a lot that have come in, but just before we go to the questions, I wanted to ask, and whoever does commission this, please answer, what are you looking for in feature films?
7, we are not looking for feature films. That's an acquisition. So we can, having said that, Australian films, even on reruns, do really well. You can ask Jeremy Sims, he reminds me all the time. They work very well for us, but it is a commission, so not...
an acquisition.
Sorry, an acquisition, not a commission.
I'll take that. We are commissioning in the feature film space, and I think we're really leaning into entertaining, lean-back genres that are going to reach a broad audience. Film Five Blind Dates, produced by Goalpost Pictures and written, created and starring Siang Hu, is a rom-com, but it's got a distinctly Australian angle. We would do that again in a heartbeat. Films that have done well for us in the past year, internationally as well. We had Shotgun Wedding come out earlier this year. Great talent with J-Lo and Jennifer Coolidge. Really fun genre mash between action and rom-com, and I think those genre blends are a really interesting space for us. Likewise, I think, anything that can really become an event that you want to sit down with your family, your friends, and watch together. Rom-coms, Valentine's Day, holiday movies, of course, but also films that sort of touch on real, true life stories that have inspirational themes. I think a feature film that did incredibly well for Prime all over the world was Argentina 1985. Which was based on a true story. It was out of our LATAM team, and it had incredible on-screen and off-screen talent with Dorigo Darren and Santiago Mita directing, and it really touched on a true story that was both broadly accessible but also led to critical acclaim and was nominated for International Best Film at the Oscars and won the Golden Globe. So I think that space, anything where people are just fascinated with the character and really want to dive deep into that world, there's a lot of Australian stories out there that could work in the feature film format, so we're keen to hear them.
I was just going to say one other thing, again, particularly if you're in that emerging space. Our Digital Originals program is super successful. It's launched so many careers. It's a great way for us to get to know you, for you to get your first screen credit. It's 6 by 10 minutes, and it also plays on Viceland as a 1 hour. We're about to announce the next round of that at the end of May. So if you're at that point in your career, definitely get into that. And this is something where people like Stevie Cruz-Martin, who directed Safe Home for us, she directed The Tailings through Digital Originals. We got to know her, we backed her, and now she's gone onto that and now has gone on to an even bigger series for you, I believe, Marsh. So it's a great pathway tracker for those who are at that point in their career.
So I'll go to the questions, unless anybody would like to say anything before I jump into the questions.
Like I'd say, just in terms of films with, the Foxtel group, I think Foxtel's not looking for movies. However, in Binge, there might be, I think we'd think through films through an event lens. Is there a story which is limited, which can be eventized? Does it have extraordinary kind of IP? Is there some sort of seasonal relevance to it? But I think those things are, difficult to find.
Great, I'll jump straight into a question, and Julie just answered partially, but I'll go there. Is there a market for, is anyone buying or commissioning short-form content outside of specific initiatives, e.g. SBS Digital Originals?
No, is the short answer.
No.
Moving on.
I think the best place, whoever asked that question, maybe the best place to go for that is the amazing fund that Screen Australia have, where they really do back those things.
Brilliant. What have been your most successful recent series for under 30-year-olds adult audiences? What do you think works for this audience? The first two get to answer it. I'm going to ask the question again.
I can answer.
Go for it.
The YA space, I think, is a really interesting space, and it means different things for different people. At Prime, I think The Summer I Turned Pretty, as I mentioned before, is a great example of success for us in terms of accessing a really broad audience. It is YA, it's it's resonating with that teen audience, that coming of age questions around love and who's my first kiss going to be and how embarrassing is it going to be if my mum's around the corner. But we're always looking, I think, in the YA space really around authenticity of voice. Younger viewers are incredibly discerning. And if you get that voice wrong, you've lost your viewership immediately. So the people that are telling those stories are incredibly important to us. It has to come from the right place. It has to come from the right voice. And we want to be resonating with our customers always. So I think having young people in that room, people who can speak to certain experiences, but we're also always looking at sort of broad themes around really sticky romance. Romance does really, really well in YA. Likewise, mystery and compelling hooks, I think, do really well for that audience, like just keeping people in what's going to happen next. You know, shows like End of the Effing World. I think, I won't swear on the panel, but it was really fun.
Flipping?
Flipping, yeah. Enter the Flipping World, sex education. Some of, at least my favourite shows are in that space, and I think it can really capture a broad audience because you're capturing those feelings that, don't just happen in youth, but they're those big feelings that you revisit again and again. It's just happening for the first time. You're falling in love for the first time. A lot of it's romance, really.
I don't think it's any secret that broadcast audiences generally are not heavily weighted or heavily made up of under 30s. But we're certainly, that's obviously one of the reasons that we are really focused on ABC iView and really trying to populate that. And the things that have worked for that audience for us recently, obviously Auntie Donna, which is on at the moment, is really resonating with that sector of the audience, which is exciting and exactly what we wanted it to do. And also that's because they've got a really impressive social media presence of their own, and they are very heavily involved in a sort of a multi-prong approach of getting that out.
On TikTok.
Yeah, that's right. They're great at that. And interestingly, our biggest hit in the last 2 years, Fisk, which was the number one rating scripted show, drama or comedy across all of broadcast television in Australia, which is staggering. And part of the reason for that was that it actually hit with every demo. So it's not a show that you would immediately think of as being a show that is, especially for under 30s, but the under 30s made up, a pretty significant part of that audience, as did every other demo, which is why how it became a hit. Alex, I feel like I cut you off there.
No, not at all. I think it's really difficult in the drama space to say that we've had shows that are successful for under 30s. And look, what Todd said is 100% correct. I think pre-Auntie Donna, we did Superwog for that reason. Is just that they have a huge online following, and we were able to migrate those to iView. I think the future for us is like when we get them to iView is like, what else are they going to go watch? So I think that's
Vera.
Sorry, Vera. But equally, with our dramas, we are seeing that, you know, our audience obviously is traditionally very old, but that iView audience is bringing in a younger demographic. So shows like The Newsreader, Savage River, Mystery Road Origin, you know, we're getting people in as kind of 35 plus into kind of the 55 plus, and that's why we're going to keep kind of pushing towards that digital space.
I mean, these are not shows that we commissioned, but you know, Foxtel obviously had enormous success with Euphoria, which came out, you know, at the beginning of last year. I mean, I think you could describe that show as a bit of a cultural phenomenon. It absolutely, you know, brought in a very large young audience, but also, you know, older people watched it as well. For the fans of Euphoria, we have The Idol coming up in June as well from the same creative team, so keep an eye out for that.
Which leads into, for all platforms, are you still aiming for all 4 quadrants, or are you currently targeting any specific audience demographics?
What's a 4 quadrant?
Clearly not for Marshall.
I've never talked about quadrants in commissioning in my life.
At 7, I wish we would say it's for everybody. As I mentioned, the core for our demo is 25 to 54. I would love to think that we would have a drama that my kids would sit down and watch, but they're grounded because they're 13 and 15. Anyone with teenagers, you hear me. But really, it is the women 40 plus. A show like Home and Away has a really great demographic, and we're actually seeing the younger audience come there. And I think it's really important. It's the stories that resonate. And of course, there is romance and so forth. It's interesting having kids that are 13 and 15, for me, learning what I think they want to watch and what they actually watch. Keep them off TikTok, people. I'm telling you now.
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, traditionally I've always chased a total people outcome because I've found the hard way that when you start going after subsets of audiences, the incremental gains you make with those audiences are probably offset by a loss at a total people level. And so generally, if you succeed at a total people level, you do well in all of the elements of audience that are there, in my experience.
I think there's something really important behind that question too, is how we create and how we empower the voices within our country to create. And I think, although within networks, you know, as businesses, there can be a part of the business that wants to look at those elements. I've only been in commissioning a couple of years, but it really has solidified to me that the stories that are the strongest are the ones that come from people with that passion we were talking about earlier. And actually, if it's a great story, well told, it will find an audience.
And that's why she's Commissioner of the Year, ladies and gentlemen.
Since we're clapping Julie Eckersley, a little bird told me it's her birthday, so can we give her a round of applause?
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Julie. Happy birthday to you. Hooray!
Thank you.
Hooray! Hooray!
No, there's nowhere
Speech.
I'd rather be than with you all. It's actually my
Natural.
50th birthday.
Oh.
Okay, happy birthday, lady. For this question is for ABC, SBS, Channel 7. How has the rise of streaming platforms impacted the shows you commission?
For 7, I don't think it has. We commission different programs. I see a lot of scripts and so forth, and whilst I would love to say, oh, let's do it, I literally say, have you taken it to Sarah or Tyler? because we were different audiences. I think for Seven, as I've mentioned, because we're free to air, we are broad. We have tried shows and tried to be niche. We'll give things a crack, but they didn't work. So you've got to learn, but you've still got to keep on trying different things.
I think it's so great that the streamers have broadened the way we see television, and that when that sort of comment I made earlier that SBS is finally trendy, I think that the streamers have played a really great and exciting role in that. For example, we all know the Squid Game, example that's helped the feeling that we can have shows that are naturally bilingual. And just the way that we've opened up to the international audience, I think it's actually allowed SBS to be more of what it is. And SBS is such an extraordinary part of our Australian landscape. I think actually, to me, SBS is as amazing as Medicare, that we have a network that was created, years ago, that actually is built for us to talk to our difference and celebrate our difference. There is nothing in the world like SBS, and the more SBS can be what it is, which is leaning into that difference, the better. And I think the streamers have made it more palatable for everyone.
I think it's important that everyone realises, whilst we say we're competitors and so forth, the most important thing is for drama to succeed. Yeah. And we're all happy and rejoice when dramas work in Australia. So whether or not it's on Channel 7 or, I've literally said, when's the newsreader coming? Because I love the newsreader. I've congratulated Sarah on Class of 07. We all want the best for each other. Leave it to the other guys, we'll all work things, but as drama people, we want to work with you guys, and we all want to have a good time and succeed.
You're absolutely right. I mean, the thing I'm most excited about right now, as Sarah knows full well, is Deadlock.
Oh, same. Can't wait
for that.
And The Lost Flowers of Alice Hart.
ABC?
Oh, look, I'd agree with everything that was just said there, because I think for us, I think we have a real rich history of drama at the ABC, and I think with a leader like Sally, people wanted to come and work with us. I think sometimes people have a
That's all going to be gone now. They're moving on to other places. No Sal, no ABC.
But I think even with the competition that's out there, and I think it's great for the industry, I think we're still getting pitched great ideas, and we're still all making great content. And I think I was on a panel earlier this week. It was around the rising cost of shows, and the deficits are getting bigger. What we need is more Australian shows actually breaking through globally, and we're going to see that really soon. And then there'll be less hesitancy by those international partners to back Australian stories. So I think the competition's good. Obviously, we're all fighting over crew and writers and things like that, but it's amazing how many shows are being made in Australia right now. So I think we're in a good spot.
And I'd say, probably picking up from what Julie said, in answer to the original question, I don't know that the rise of streamers has affected the way we commission things, but it's definitely affected the way that people watch television, and has proven that there's no formula to making a good show. I think it's really widened up people's expectations of what they will watch.
Can you see a point in the near future where we could see drama per hour budgets rise to the level of international premium dramas? 20%?
I think from the ABC's perspective, if there's international investment, then yeah. We have a range of shows that we make. Some are low price points, some are very high. The higher ones are obviously when we've got really good international partnerships. So it's possible. But I think we all, as broadcasters and platforms, have limitations about what we can put in. We all know what the limitations are around the soft money. So I really do go back to that point, if we have Australian shows that are performing overseas, then it's only going to benefit us, because that's the only way we're going to get to that level.
And while, that having that great, that big end of town in our Australian shows is fantastic, creativity and the stories we tell abroad. And, again, you look at The Bear, how strong that was, how much that cut through with this not big budget. So while I think that's happening and more money's coming in and that's exciting on one level, we don't want to make the mistake of thinking that you can only make great TV with lots of money. There's lots of other things that drive creative and drive great story.
Not everybody can answer this question, but I will read it out. How often do you acquire a finished series, and what are you looking to acquire?
Crikey, are they talking about Australian? I mean, it's not often that an Australian story would be financed and made without local investment in it. Obviously, we're acquiring huge amounts of content from overseas all of the time.
Yeah, we sit on the commissioning side. We have an acquisitions team, so yeah, it's very unlikely anything's going to sort of come to us through that door, I guess.
We do. We have an acquisitions team as well, and we acquire across international and Australian projects, film, predominantly for finished tape. I think that we haven't come in early. Ali Gilbert, Tyler Byrne, over to you, but I think we're just constantly looking for the right stories to fill our catalogue, whether that be something we developed ourselves or something that, you know, has already been made, and we see a real hunger for that content.
We have 4 minutes left, and I would like to finish with each of our wonderful speakers here. Just give us that top-level sound bite, so when somebody does pitch to you next, what little piece of advice would you like to give them?
Clear, distinct story.
Don't pitch the Australian Ted Lasso or the Australian Hacks or the Australian Fleabag. Bring us your story.
Clarity of vision.
Exactly what everyone else is saying. It's about, the word for me again is passion and knowing what story you want to tell.
Compelling characters that audiences are going to fall in love with, which are authentic and believable.
Very passionate, clear vision of what your show is, and don't compare it to, say, Succession or Fleabag or anything like that. Just pitch it on what you believe your show is.
Can everybody please put your hands together and thank our wonderful speakers?
Oh my God, was it better sitting on the end?